Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, I know that many of you guys out there, when you consider going vegan, you have some worries because, of well-respected medical authorities saying stuff like this.
There's a difference between being vegan and vegetarian. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but a vegetarian who eats eggs is getting things like B12.
Yeah, exactly.
If you truly go vegan, you've got to be very careful.
Yeah, you got to be very careful, as this really popular Harper's Bazaar.com article wrote during Veganuary, things you got to worry about before you commit. Indeed, this Harper's article agrees with Dr. Stork that vegans need to worry about B12 because it's only found in animal products. Let's take a look here. Meat eaters don't really seem to fare that much better, if at all. This study of 3,000 otherwise healthy men and women, 39% of them had B12 levels of low, normal, or worse. That's 258 picomoles per liter. So last week, I went and got my blood checked. It's about time. I've been vegan now for over 5 years, and last time I got my blood test was over 2 years ago, so I was more than due. So let's take a look at my B12 first, this thing I can't really get any of. Well, remember, the meat eaters had at least 40% of them were around 258 picomoles. Look at mine here. Nearly 700. I mean, that's hardcore. And previous tests, one from 2 years ago, I had 442, and the test from 18 months before that, I had 602. So I'm always in that 400 to 600 range. And I want to add one point here. I don't take any vitamins or supplements, haven't the whole time I was vegan, except for last year in June, about like 7-8 months ago, I started with a sublingual B12 spray. Not for any reason, I wasn't deficient or anything, but from all the things I've read and researched, it looked like I had nothing to lose and all to gain, and apparently it's working. Well, that Harper's article was quite concerned about protein. Of course, everyone's worried about protein. Anyway, yeah, they're saying you're not going to have enough protein to get your muscles working right, and your hair and skin and all that. Well, let's take a look at my protein here. 6.7, right in the middle of the healthy range, as it's always been. In fact, it was 6.4 on my last 2 tests as well. Harper's goes on to warn people that if you eat carbs instead of meat proteins, these carbs are going to convert to sugars, which increase your insulin levels in the blood. Sounds like the word about diabetes. I just want to facepalm that one. Yeah, everyone's so afraid of sugar in the blood because so many people are diabetic or pre-diabetic. But if you have healthy sugar levels, that's a good thing. You want sugar, you want glucose in your blood. That's the main currency of fuel for the body and brain. And let's take a look at my levels here. As always, all of my 3 blood tests, my glucose has been in the 80s here, in a very healthy part of that range. Well, speaking of diabetes, here's my hemoglobin A1C test, which screens for diabetes. If your reading is above 5.7, you're pre-diabetic, or high enough, you're actually diabetic. Well, mine is a very safe 5.4. In fact, my doctor said pretty much everyone that comes into his office these days has a score of higher than 5.7. So once again, this Harper's Bazaar article's warnings about eating carbs instead of animal protein is false. It won't give you diabetes. And Harper's also warns that vegans may be low in calcium because we avoid dairy products. Well, I won't bore you with all the studies that we've seen. People that are non-vegans have the highest rates of osteoporosis. They have more brittle bones than people who don't drink dairy. Well, let's take a look at mine here. Again, my calcium levels are spot on, right in the healthy part of that range. And lastly, let's have a look at my vitamin D. That's another one, like, calcium and iron. People say you have to have animal products to get this stuff. Well, I haven't had any animal products, in over 5 years. I should be really deficient in vitamin D, right? Well, you want to have a level of over 30, and that's really challenging. Even Dr. McDougall says a reading in the 20s is fine. He's never seen anyone with any health complications with readings in the 20s. Well, look at mine here, 34. So where am I getting it? Well, I'm not a medical doctor, obviously, but from everything I've researched, sunlight is the best way to absorb vitamin D. Get out in the sun once in a while. And it's the dead of winter here too, and I'm still having readings in the 30s like I've always had since I started getting my blood tested as a vegan. So what's going on here? Everyone's saying you got to eat meat to get all these nutrients. I haven't had meat and its nutrients for 5 years. How can I be so healthy and not take any supplements other than a B12 supplement a few times a week?
But the nutrients on a meat-based diet are much worse. When a person goes to a vegan diet and the vegetables and fruits and whole grains are coming in, your fat content goes way down and cholesterol goes down, but beta-carotene goes up and vitamin E, and your nutrition overall is better for you and
But we're
better
not
for your
saying
baby.
that you cut
So
out
as Dr. Neil Bernard so eloquently explains on The Doctors, yeah, contrary to how most people think, once you get off the meat and actually start eating nutrient-dense food, plants, you actually have better health. You have better blood test results. So that's what's going on here. I think it's no mystery. People just have it backwards. So yeah, when I met back with my doctor and we went over these results, he was quite pleased, which is rare. He said most people my age are not doing so well. They are pre-diabetic, they're overweight, none of that for me. In fact, when he said, when he first saw me walk past him in the hallway before we sat down in his office, he thought, oh, there's some guy like in his late 20s or something like that. So I think that speaks volumes. A guy who treats people my age all day, every day. He knows what they look like and what kind of health complications they're already having. And he underestimated my age by a couple decades. And so anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. Post your questions and comments down below. Have you had your blood work done lately? I recommend doing it once a year. I know I waited 2 years this time. Let me know if you were deficient on anything, or did you have really good readings on like B12 and D and protein. I have yet to see vegans with bad blood tests, but I see lots of meat eaters with pretty horrible blood tests. So you gotta wonder, is this lifestyle working or not? So yeah, share this video with a friend who thinks that if you go vegan, you're destroying your health. Show them the actual opposite is true. And subscribe for more from me and Angie here at Happy Healthy Vegan. So until next time, keep it carb and keep getting great blood work. It there. Conversely to how most people think, once you get off meat and actually start eating more niche. So as Dr. Neil Bernard so eloquently explains